Hello, everyone. Thank you for waiting patiently. Oop, I'm crooked. There we are, three faces. So Kathy and I are here with Stephanie Beaumont. I am so excited that you're here. And
Me too.
I love it. I love it because you're used to interviewing everyone. So I'm wondering if you're going to like take over the conversation.
No, it's
Feel
nice
free
to be
to.
interviewed. It's funny because back in the day, I used to be an entertainer. I was a singer, and I
Yes.
did some work for CMT and behind the scenes specials and award show, red carpet things. And I just found that I loved interviewing people way more than I loved being interviewed, and that's why I made the shift. So.
I think every guest I've ever had on, except for maybe one, has said the same exact thing. One, more than one, was like, the one female that I had on, I'll never forget, was she was like, oh my God, I'm sweating. I'm sweating. Like how'd I do? And I'm like, what do you mean, how do you do? You're in front of the camera all the time. She goes, not like this. And that's when I first started out. I realized people get nervous. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're so happy you're here. We want to I want our fans and our followers to get to know you first before we dive into any Republic of Doyle stuff, which I cannot tell you. I am obsessed, and because I'm obsessed, I have to spread it everywhere I go.
That's good. That's real good.
Roxanne was my gateway drug to Republic of Doyle.
Well, I have to confess, I watched the first episode. If this is going to be continuing drama between you and Kathy, Roxanne, but were you really in Newfoundland, or were you just being funny? Because I was like, maybe she's got like an incognito.
Oh my God.
Yeah, your backdrop.
I wish. No.
Oh, okay. But do you live in the same?
I did check out airfare. It's not that bad.
Pardon me?
I checked out the airfare from the Chicagoland area. It's not that bad.
It's not bad. Okay, so you're in Chicago. So how did you two meet? Let me ask that question first, because it's everybody probably knows it. And then I probably will answer your questions. But how did you two meet?
So I have an obsessive behavior.
Stop.
No, I do. And I was like, I'm bored. I have a very lovely life and my family sticks with me. But I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to start something. I'll start a podcast. No, first I want to start my own talk show, which you can't just do that. So I'm like, I'll start like a podcast. I'll do whatever. So I was in love with everything that has to do with Hallmark, everything, like even if it trickles out into other areas, which it does, right?
Right.
So I went with that. And then one thing led to another. And I love When Calls the Heart. So I would be on fan pages and I saw something Kathy wrote. And I sent her a message and I'm like, you should come on and let's analyze such and such episode. And she didn't respond for months. And then she did. And then she came on and people were like, oh my God, you two are fantastic. Please do it again. And we did it again. And then we were like, season's coming on. We should just, I kidnapped her. Nice.
Oh, you have a great chemistry.
Oh my gosh, it's so much
fun.
You
do. I wondered. But anyway, I did watch the show that you put on, and it got me so excited because I have to say it's been a while. But I was like all things Republic of Doyle, and I had such a luxury because where I've kind of lived all over Canada. I've toured through the States, and I have relatives in New England and down in anyway, all different kinds of places. But I'm based out on the East Coast, and because Newfoundland, and I should tell you because when you wanna say things right, you said you wanted to get Perry Chafe's name right.
Yes.
So the way you can remember is understand Newfoundland. That's how it's pronounced, not Newfoundland or Newfoundlander. Okay. So it's understand Newfoundland. That's how you can remember that. But at any rate, that's an island. And so certainly all of the media outlets on Newfoundland Island, it's Newfoundland and Labrador if you really want to get technical, is the name of the province, but the actual proper island is Newfoundland. And so I was celebrating all things East Coast. So all four Atlantic provinces, which is Nova Scotia, which is where I am, and New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island, and then Newfoundland and Labrador. So a lot of serendipitous things happened. One, Republic of Doyle had just finished their first season and we're starting to shoot their second. So shows were airing on CBC. At the same time, I had launched I had been broadcast radio and television all the way out in Vancouver Island and in Alberta and in Ontario. But I always wanted to move back because I was born here in Nova Scotia. And I said, there's nothing happening here. I've got to create something. So Kathy, this is like what you did, or Roxanne, this is what you did. You know, you started your own thing. So I started See and Be Seen, which is see like the ocean and be seen like a movie scene, because I love all things like movies and television. And I celebrated restaurants and hotels and stuff like that too. But really, I wanted to get behind the scenes and find out what was going on. So I called the rep who was in Toronto, Jonathan, lovely fellow, a very, like, if you see PR agents on television shows and stuff like that, he's like the gatekeeper, right? But very friendly, but a real city guy compared to the St. John's crowd. And they couldn't be more welcoming. I mean, my very first interview with Alan Hocko was in the back seat of the GTO.
I know. I've seen every episode. I've seen every interview you've done, and I've watched that many times.
That was before I actually had the television show. I was just doing these videos for my website. And my website had just launched, and the guys who designed it, the Kula partners, I call them Katie Ray, my daughter, the sidekick, was so little, she used to call them the Kool-Aid boys. But they were like, what's happening? Why are there so many hits? And it was because I was in the back seat with Alan Hocko. And so they were they were just so welcoming. I mean, Roxanne, if you've seen the videos, you know how they literally welcomed me onto the set in so many permutations. Season after season, I'd catch up with them if they were on the road or whatever. So, but the greatest crew, and Alan and Perry and the Blackie boys and all of that team at Take the Shot are just top notch. And they were all, used to going elsewhere to work, for lack of a better way to put it. So this gave all of this incredible wealth of talent, both actors on camera and behind the scenes crew, like top-notch crews, a great show, a great vehicle for 6 years. And then as soon as they stopped down that, they went on to Frontier, and now they're doing Son of a Critch, which, by the way, is coming to the CW.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now.
No, it's excellent.
So that's a bit of a background on me. Plus, I was a singer. So before I did broadcast, I did corporate marketing like so long ago. But there can't be math tonight. I won't allow it because I'm feeling really young and feisty. But I did corporate marketing in Toronto, and then just happened to drop my tape to the new country radio station in town. And then like a week later was cutting the title track to my first album. So I did 2 country albums and toured across Canada, and actually even entertained the troops in the Middle East, which was kind of fun. But as I mentioned, I just really loved I made 14 music videos, and I always figured that's kind of where I got bitten by the bug, if you will, to be on camera. And so then I just wrote CMT, called CMT. I knew them because they were playing my videos and said, like, what about a backstage special? And then it spun into radio and television, and then life. And that's it. So here I am.
I loved it. Now, there was a name switch, because what I did was I took all of your CNB Scene?
CNB Scene.
All of whatever you had on YouTube, and I made a whole compilation of it, and then linked it onto my channel. So if they click it, it goes straight to yours.
Yay. Thank you.
And then I saw that you had, the name had changed, and it was, what was it? East Coast Curator. I always get it wrong. Is that what it is?
Yeah, no, that's right. And East Coast Curator launched in 2020. So it was, I had a lot of grand plans that went south, as everybody's life sort of went by the wayside. So I kind of reverted, for all intents and purposes. I still kept up the site, and I still have a radio show called CNB Seen and Heard, which is, and it goes to podcast. So it's streaming on all the platforms, and that keeps me sort of in that realm. But I've been doing so much marketing work and tourism work I have clients here. One of my big clients is the Nova Scotia Tourism Cooperative. So, CNB Scene was meant to, I always say I was the fun flag waver for this part of the world. Because having worked all over Canada, I remember I was in the newsroom in Victoria and I was like, oh my gosh, you haven't lived till, you've been to Hubbard's, or you've been to St. John's, or you've been to, all over the place. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, and they were like, oh, there's nothing out there. I'm like, well, you can't say that until you've gone. But, do you know Billy Campbell? Does that name ring a bell? Do you remember the show Once and Again?
That's the actor?
Yeah. Yeah. So he's dreamy. I interviewed him, a lovely fellow and so tall. But my point is, he said, he had a theory that the further east you go, the easier it is to get picked up when you're hitchhiking. And I'm like, who wouldn't stop for Billy Campbell? But so he's filmed all over Canada. And he said, he got to New Brunswick and he'd wait I don't know, 10 minutes, and then he'd get picked up. And then he got to Nova Scotia, and he said it probably wouldn't even have been 5 minutes before somebody would pull over. And then he said, and in Newfoundland, they just stop and ask you, hey, do you want to ride? So it's true, but back to the Republic of Doyle gang, salt of the earth, so much fun and super funny. All of them are hilarious.
So this group here, we're the Doilies.
Yeah. So
we're spreading the word and getting more people into it.
I don't know why we weren't. So I was a huge fan. Alan Hocko had his own team. They were called Team Awesome. Or jokingly, the Hocko Hotties is what I called them. But there was this group, this contingent of women from all over who were very much like yourselves. They were just great fans. If Alan was showing up for, a play opening at his company theater in Toronto, or at a movie opening, or wherever he was, they were. And they were just, united in their love for Alan Hocko.
Stephanie, what do you attribute its popularity, its success? Had there been anything like this done on CBC before? It's just
no. Not for a long time. It's funny. I just started watching that show Revenge again. That's a great show, right?
That was something
incredible show. But then I just got into a deep dive. I feel like they can hear you when you start talking about stuff, right? So then I pull up YouTube to look for something, and there's all this revenge. But my point is, what they were saying was that it was just a serendipitous everything. The cast, the writing, the time of life. It's hard to know if Revenge would have done well. When it came to Republic of Doyle, no. It had everything. It had every box ticked. It had great script. It had great cast. It had an
chemistry. Art. Chemistry was the main
That's
thing.
It.
So much.
Yeah, and casting. They did such a great job casting, and but it was one of those things. I've interviewed Alan so much. It all sort of blurs in, but I do know he had a vision for this show that started a long time ago. But 19. He did have it. Oh, there you go.
He said he was 19 and he had all of this, but he didn't realize how much work it was going to be and how time consuming.
He did. He was a showrunner. He was a writer. He was executive producer. He was starring. Insane. Just insane. But it was just everything magically coming together, Kathy. And never before in Newfoundland, to the best of my knowledge. There'd been the Rowdy Men, and there'd been the wonderful Grand Band and stuff like that had CBC specials, but nothing like this episodic adventure. And it's almost like I watched your show and you were talking about that extra character. It's so St. John's. It's like Sex in the City, right? New York is what New York is to that show, St. John's. And it, for tourism, it was bananas. Danny Williams was the premier at the time. And if you ever want to, Mark Critch, he actually plays Ned Bishop.
Yep,
so
he does. Yeah.
You would have seen him on the show. He is a riot. And all of them have sort of grown up together in theater school, and they've gone off their separate ways. So this was a wonderful opportunity for everybody to get back together. But Mark Critch does an incredible Danny Williams, and there's a 22 minutes episode where Danny Williams says he's going to retire as premier, and then Mark's like, what? Like, that's half my act on 22 minutes. And then Malachi and Jake actually have a cameo, as does Maurice Becker, rather, who is the late, great Gordon Pinsent, who just passed away. But they call him the Codfather. So you have to look for it. It's so funny. But anyway, so it's just like a family, so many great friends, but like first class. I've had a great opportunity to be on so many sets, and the crews here on the East Coast of Canada, I mean, we are used for film, like so many locations. I think every Stephen King based production has been somewhere in Nova Scotia, because we look, but at any rate, my point is the crews are fantastic, and the actors were just so wonderful and welcoming. So I'm really lucky.
It was like lightning in a bottle. And the
chemistry between Jake and Leslie, I mean, forget about it.
Well, I love them, but you know what? The chemistry between all of them. Jake and Malachi, oh my gosh.
The dialogue.
The beginning of the show. They were the very first scene, and they were the very last scene. I mean, fantastic. So it's and the relationships between all of the characters. It was just phenomenal. I don't know where you couldn't plan that.
No, I don't think so. And they had such it was one of those shows too, like if you were a Canadian actor, you wanted to be on it. If you were a friend, I mean, and so many people on the cast have worked in other circles, and so they were having their friends come on. If you're from Newfoundland and you weren't on Republic of Doyle, I mean, Shannon Tweed was on it, for the love of God, right?
Yes.
But she was born in Newfoundland. Russell Crowe, exactly. Now, Russell Crowe.
He lets me call him Rusty. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are you friends?
Stephanie?
No.
Don't think this was so viral. I had no idea. We'll talk after.
I don't want to cease and desist from Russell Crowe, so please
do not listen to when she says silly things like that.
That's so funny. I used to never sleep when I had the show and the website on the go. And I was always up, and I followed him on Twitter. This is back when Twitter was all the rage. And the show, that was the other thing about the show. You remember when Scandal was on and they were live tweeting? It was the same for Republic of Doyle. The cast would get on there in the episodes, and it was so good. Anyway, but he said, I can never sleep before a work day. And I said, oh, are you off to anywhere great? And he said, yes. He goes, you have the scoop. I'm going to be on Republic of Doyle. And I was like, oh, what? Like, and I interviewed Alan down on the harbor.
Yes.
And Russell was up at the hotel. I didn't get to get anywhere near him. But I did get a picture with Scott Grimes. Is it Scott? Yeah, Scott Grimes.
Yes.
So,
he's a doll.
But they were all friends with Alan Doyle.
Yes.
Because of Robin Hood.
Yes.
And then by virtue of that, Alan Hocko and all of those fellas got to just be friends and was like, hey, we're doing a little bit of a show. But anyway, so I mean, but it was one of those shows like where you do see so many people, like Craig Olejnik. I don't know if you ever watched The Listener. He was on there. Ellen, like I mean, so many people. Johnny Harris, who's on Murdoch Mysteries.
I love him. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and everybody. I think when it ended, it was a wonderful ending. Like, but I'll stop talking now. You ask another question.
No. I have been when I go and I put it out there, different things I look at, like the chemistry, the main cast, just of course St. John's itself is the character, the car, but also that they had I call them two different kinds of guest stars. They had a wonderful guest star that was only on like once, but then they have the recurring guest stars that are on season after season, and the continuity and the detail, they never forget. Like the writing is superb, and they forget nothing, even little funny sayings, and then they'll bring it back, which I think is amazing.
Right.
So yes, everybody's on it. We've seen so many people that are in Hallmark Christmas movies or movies, Murdoch Mysteries. What about the Sci-Fi Channel, Kathy? How many different?
They're all over this. And on the stage, I remember going to see Victor Garber in their song. Garrison Steele is one of my favorite characters.
I mean, yeah, he was a repeat. He was a great
Jimmy Scott Grimes, and oh my gosh, I just adored Clyde Crowley. He was such a loser, but he was so funny. That I love that
Walter was Sean Panting. I was thinking when I was just mentioning the tweets. He and Carrie McDonald, and I have Carrie's book, which I'm going to hold up, which is called. It's just, I don't even remember what it's called. The Definitive Guide to Doyle. It's seasons 1 and 2. It's on Flanker Press, which is a Newfoundland print. But this is like unbelievable. I have it autographed, so there's that. That's pretty cool for me. But it's every episode broken down for seasons 1 and 2. Carrie McDonald was a writer for the show. And she and Sean Panting were, if you weren't following them on a show night, you were. Like there's a phrase, I mean, there's so many Newfoundland sayings that you'd never.
Yes.
I mean, so yes, bye is something that, and that's another YouTube dive for this hour has 22 minutes. They did a parody of Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. And so you have to watch it because they explain all the ways that you can use yes, bye, and it makes sense. But anyway, and Juicars, that's not a good thing. And Slovene, if somebody calls you a Slovene, I mean, there's nothing worse than a Slovene.
What about a sook? What's a sook? What's that?
Yeah, that's just like a bait. Like, don't be such a suck. Like, like a baby. Don't be a baby. Don't cry.
Yeah.
That's.
Mary McDonald is not Miranda. That's Mary West.
Who? What? She froze.
Oh no! And she was asking.
Sean, please, but it's hilarious. Look at her face. I love when this happens. We had a guest on before. Look at her face.
Oh, no, she looks. I was like, what show is she talking about though, Roxanne?
I don't know. I don't know what she was saying. I think it has to do with the writer. Who was the writer of that?
Oh, Carrie McDonald. Carrie with a K. Kerri. So she was a writer. And then so she wrote this book, but it's all like stuff that you would never know otherwise. It breaks down the script. It talks about locations and all that kind of stuff. But I grabbed onto it because I think the focus for this episode was season 1, right?
Yeah.
And I was just going to let you know what my favorite episode was.
We do. We want to hear it because we're going to talk once we've eaten up your time and you go on your merry way. We are going to we're going to analyze our favorites. So which one was your favorite?
Well, I just want to make sure I get the title right. Blood is Thicker Than Blood. For a lot of reasons, mainly because one of my dear friends, Sean Doyle, is in it. And I call him my dear friend now because we got to know each other. He shot a movie down here with Billy Campbell, and he was on Doyle, but he plays Carl Marr. Yes. Do you remember Carl Marr?
Yes.
And his transformation from season 2 to, I can't remember what season he was on in. I want to say 4 or 5. He was so different.
Shaved and clean cut.
Yeah, he was so like scary, and he's such a lovely fellow. But in that episode 2, what did I say? Was it Blood is Thicker Than Blood?
Yes.
He was frightening. Like he literally was super scary.
Yes,
and I think the other thing about the show was that they did a wonderful job at the, Alan's like, we don't want to do cliffhangers. I'm like, you don't want to do cliffhangers. That's all they did at the, I was like, what are you doing? Oh my God. Anyway, but it was such a great balance of emotion, of like drama and suspense and love, like, and there was love found on the set. Like, so, Mark O'Brien and his wife, Georgina Riley, they met. And also Martha Bernard married one of the writers on the show.
Did she?
And I feel like that might have been all, but it's ironic that the two, Tinny and Des, were the two that found love.
And I right away, I recognize her right away from Murdoch Mysteries. Like I was like, oh, I know where she's from. And then I found out that they, fell in love. And she was only on the one episode. She played the crazy, the secretary.
Yeah, the psycho secretary.
Yes. but Alan's wife, who's a newscaster, she was in. Yeah.
Yeah, Carolyn Stokes, and she would play a reporter.
Yes.
Yeah, she wasn't a character, and I don't know that I don't think they named her specifically. Like it wasn't like, I'm Carolyn, but she is a newscaster. Yeah, and she's
had real dark hair, but they weren't, when she came in the first season, I don't think he was married yet. I don't know how they met, but
no. They had been dating before, and they got married. I can't remember I want to say between 2 and 3, but I could be wrong. Like in hiatus at some point, but
yeah. All right. So
and Mark and Georgina had a fantastic wedding in Toronto. They got married. Actually, there's a picture I interviewed them when they had just gotten engaged in the real Duke of Duckworth.
Yes.
They had gone to New York, and Georgina's like, I used to be online all the time. Like I wouldn't miss a heartbeat. And so if somebody tweeted out anything, I'd be like, oh my God. And I'd go right to my website and like type up this and retweet and share and do a whole story on it. And she was like, what happened? Where were you? I was like, I was on vacation. Like I took 2 days off and I missed the biggest event. But anyway, they're so lovely.
Now, I have a couple of questions about the, I circled the word threads because I wanted to ask you about that, but we don't have to do that yet. Kathy, you might have some questions, but let me take over right now. No.
As always.
We're so glad you're back, Kathy.
Yeah,
we didn't actually acknowledge that. I'm glad you're back.
And you were frozen.
I love you.
I'm sorry, but anyway, okay, getting back to this. So, because it's reminded me of something that happened to us with another actor once, and he was frozen.
We shouldn't joke, because it could happen to any of us.
I know, he was frozen like this.
Oh no.
Mortified. And he kept texting us saying, oh my God, can you take it off? And we're like, no. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Okay, so back to this. I was interested in the houses. So I can't all right. So they have these gorgeous colors, right? And then even the fence is that color. Like, how do they keep that up? Like remember, the houses are all purple, all red, or whatever.
They call them the jelly bean rows of houses.
Okay.
And they just get painted.
Is it something like, what if someone else moves into the house and doesn't want it to be that color? Is there some kind of a
neighborhood watch? I don't know. A community association? I don't know. I'd have to ask somebody. I know there was a real Doyle house, like a real house that they shot the exteriors. But everything else was shot. And that was a deep green. So it didn't really play the game, but it did stand out on that street because I believe most of the houses on that street were white, and that one was green. But as far as the jelly bean, I think it's kind of like if you're in one of those houses, I mean, they're deer. It's not like, you're there because you want to be, I think.
Yes.
Would be my guess, but I don't know. Wow, you've given me homework.
It's similar to the Historical Society over here in the States.
I mean, we have those.
You can't change them.
Yeah, no, we have those everywhere. I don't know that that's the case, but again, I'm going to look into it now. You've given me homework.
All right. I was just so curious about it. And there are so many people that are like, oh, now we're going to go. And I'm like, oh, I have to ask you certain questions, because I watch everything that you have. So it makes us look at it in a different way. Like, I loved when they were showing how the I call them set directors. I don't know, the crew built the Duke to look very similar as much as they could as the real thing, which is still there and flourishing. Yes, no? Is it still there?
It's an institution. I mean, it's one of those places that you shouldn't go. I mean, it is filled. If you're a tourist, you go there, but the locals go too. It's not like one of those places that's just filled with tourists. It's one of those places. I mean, it's it's a tourist town in the summer predominantly, but it is a hangout for all people. But just with the production, of course, they couldn't shoot there. There's a couple of scenes where they shot exteriors at the real, as it goes down the stairs there.
Now, what about how about getting around St. John's? Like how long? I mean, it doesn't look like it's that big. How long would it take to travel from like point A to point B kind of thing?
In the
Well,
GTO?
it's a real city. I'll tell you, the tricky part of St. John's is the hills. Like
Okay.
it's hilly. Like my mom, her claim to fame was always that she drove got her driver's license going up the Hill of Chips, which is this like like I'm gonna say, I don't know, crazy insane steep hill, but that's what it is. It's tons of hills, and it's not like a grid. I'm trying to think of
Okay.
it's kind of like Nashville in that it's kind of like a spoke, but it's crazy. Like that would be my only way to put it, but beautiful, and big. I mean, it's got a lot of like communities, for lack of a better word. Like here in Halifax, we have the Halifax Regional Municipality, and then but it's kind of spilled out into the burbs, as it were. And in St. John's, gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what it would be like in terms of like Providence, maybe, like in terms of population, maybe. I don't know. I'm terrible. I mean, I'm not from there. And when I go there, specifically like the city proper, it is about 3 or 4 sort of main streets, and it just keeps getting bigger. But there's tons of business there, and there's tons of older homes too, like Kitty Vitty, which is the backdrop that you had yesterday, Kathy. I say yesterday, that's when I watched your episode. But that backdrop, that's called St. John's, but it's really kind of a little village that sits just adjacent to it. It's where they do all the rowing races. I think Linda Boyd participated in those every year. But it's a wonderful spot. It's just full of character. I mean, everywhere you look, really, there's history, and there's tons of new businesses too. Great shopping and wonderful restaurants. I mean, it really is a great spot to go. And then you can drive, sort of as far as you want, and see the most spectacular. I did a music video there at Cape Spear, which is actually the furthest east point in North America. And on December the 1st, it was so cold. But everyone was like, gosh, you went to Ireland to shoot that video? Come on. And I was like, no, I didn't. I was in Newfoundland, the Grossmore National Park, and everywhere you go, all kinds of beautiful fishing villages, and then tons of modern spots too. So it's folksy as you want, and as upscale as you want. It's got everything really. And
it's very folksy, very inviting.
Yeah, we're like excited by that. And it's amazing to me too that they got to film when they were outside so much and people were out of their way. Do you know what I mean? Because they all kind of live there too as they're filming. Like, how did that work? Like
they were very respectful. It was funny because one of the scenes, and I can't remember which season, how spoilerish can I get? Probably not. Hey, I don't like spoilers. So anyway, Leslie Bennett is a royal. She's of the RNC, right?
Yes, we know. Yes.
There's at one part she gets a demotion, let's say, and she's directing traffic.
Yes.
And she's literally directing traffic, and people were like mad at her. Like she was like, they didn't even really give it a thought, it wasn't like there was a film crew. But as I understand it, I mean, obviously the backdrops are beautiful, but people just kind of got used to it. It was kind of like when Haven shot right here in Chester. You just got used to it, and you just sort of went around.
Are you a Haven?
Oh,
gosh. Yeah, I did. I had a backstage special with them as well.
I'm going to need your cell phone number.
Pardon?
I'm going to need your cell phone number. We're going to be besties.
And that was a lovely crew too, and fantastic group of actors, like just wonderful people. And that's shot around here and all up and down the South Shore. I mean, if you want to see, and that's again a perfect example of a Stephen King production, wanting this part to look like Maine. And they shot all the way from Peggy's Cove, to Lunenburg. It just, everywhere you look, it's something beautiful. But that show, I mean, whatever, it's sort of misty and kind of like foggy, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so Haven. And people are like, I know, it's so Haven. But you just expect to see
Leslie's dad is from Haven, the show Haven, the actor who plays Leslie's dad.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, the crossover was phenomenal. Now, also, and I was trying to think if I know Martha Bernard is Andy Jones' daughter. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
I didn't know if Andy Jones was in Republic of Doyle. I think he played a priest. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know. But Kathy Jones was the Duchess of, and that's her aunt. So, and I would ask Google, but I've got my phone on silent. But she's part of like Newfoundland acting royalty. Martha Bernard is, and Bernard is her mom's maiden name. So that's how she.
I can never find her. I can never find her on social media. I always want to.
No, it's funny because Martha was actually not very big on it even during the production. And she would go on and off, but not really. She was always so lovely and gracious whenever I interviewed her, but she wasn't much into the social media side of it. That's fine. Her and Des, though, I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch the ones where Do You Know Doyle?
I've watched all of them more than once, so I'm good.
They were like the reigning champs, and they were such good sports. Both Mark O'Brien and Martha Bernard, super competitive. So they were so much fun when we were doing the trivia. Oh my God, so fun.
So, go ahead, Kathy.
I was going to say, Roxanne was saying earlier how she's, obsessed with the shows and everything. My thing is, I don't like starting to watch a show until it's over, until it's been over for years, because I don't get into current episodic TV because I don't know when they're going to yank it out from under me or, end it badly and I'm going to get mad. But Haven, for example, and Republic of Doyle, they ended beautifully.
They did.
Very satisfying. So I asked a question that's like an elephant in the room with Republic of Doyle. Do you think there's any chance they would ever get together and do a reunion movie?
He said he would do a movie. He said he would. Alan said it.
Just out of curiosity, you said that he said that. When did you hear him say it?
So it was on, I heard it more than once, but the one time was
recently.
No,
okay.
No. Because I know he's very busy. I was like, when he said it, they were coming to the end of, they were going from 5 into 6, and now they let it be known that would be it. But he's like, I'm ready for the movie. I have the movie written right in his mind. And he said it more than once. And here's me looking at the date and calculating what it is now. And I'm like, what happened? Wait a minute. That's why I got on social media and flipped a wig. And I'm like, we need the movie. We need the movie. That's why I was campaigning everyone to watch. So
I wish you were around when that.
Well, we still have all the cast members, most of them,
Yeah.
And I mean, I wish I had you on my team back then because I was campaigning hard. Well, the Take the Shot production went, for all intents and purposes, they took a break. They did Caught. I watched and then they did Frontier, which was a complete departure. I feel like and Mark O'Brien's career went like he was already doing so many things like almost immediately. And his career is on a fast track. I mean, just do an IMDb search on him.
Oh my God. He is a wonderful
Perry Mason.
Wonderful partner, Perry Mason. Yeah.
So anyway, back to your question. So and Alan, at the point they were doing Caught, Alan said, well, it's really up to Perry. And he passed it off to Perry. And Perry's busy writing. And then
I read his book.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, right? So, so I wrote Perry today, and I said, because Perry liked my story when I said, hey, I'm going to be honest tonight. And he goes, so great that you're doing that. I'm like, they're going to ask me about the movie. What should I say? And he said something that gave me hope. I'm not kidding. I was like, I'm sorry. What? So they're busy, clearly. Alan's movie, Quicksand, by the way, goes to Shudder on Friday, tomorrow, right? The 14th? So and that's about quicksand. Did you ladies have nightmares about quicksand when you were little?
Why?
Right? There was no quicksand. when I was little, I'm like, oh my God, there's going to be quicksand everywhere.
Yes, but now it's no more, right?
No quicksand. But anyway, so his movie comes out tomorrow. And Perry finished the book, as you said. They're working on the next season of Son of a Critch, because that's starting to shoot.
So good.
But Perry said, and I can't look at my phone, but he said something that intimated that it's not completely out of.
Well, I can't be a one-woman show here. That's
no, I'm with you. I'll get the t-shirts made. I was hashtagging ROD movie, like,
yes,
there we go tomorrow.
I started that. I went back and I changed it too. You put ROD the movie, right?
ROD the movie.
Yes.
And also Jake and Leslie Forever. That was my other. I think there's tons of ways they could go with it.
I have a whole bunch of ideas.
Tons of ways.
Harry, you could call me up. I can tell you.
I was just going to go back to something Kathy said, though, about how you don't get into the show until it's done. But if you remember when we were all little, we had to wait like the week or the 3 months between the cliffhanger. And now everything's sort of bingeable. And but the other side of it, and I think what you can't put any money on now is that the show was allowed to live and grow and get better. Like, now you're gone. Like, so I can appreciate, like, people just pull the chute out from under you, and you're like, wait a minute, I love that show. I can't think of how many, but Republic of Doyle, I think it was great out of the gate. So they didn't really have that concern. No. But I think it did take a while for word to catch on and for people to catch up. And then, by the time season 2 rolled around, they had a fandom that was so.
Yeah. But it needs a movie. I don't think it would work necessarily as a, reboot series.
Oh, no, not at all.
Time is different.
That was magic.
The expectations would be too much. But a movie just showing how the people have moved on. Do Jake and Leslie have like 11 kids now? Because they were pushing them out pretty good there, 2 years later. So that was a spoiler.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's a spoiler, Kathy.
It is, Kathy.
Come on.
Well, the show is what? How long has it been?
I know. I feel like that's the other side of it. How
I on board, but enjoy watching it. But
I'm sorry, I'm talking over you. That's so rude. I was just gonna say, because we've had it on CBC Gem. You can watch all the episodes here in Canada, but how long has it been on in the US?
I don't know. I discovered it, and we can't talk about any other streaming system right now because this is being put on this one particular page, and they will boot it off.
Oh,
so, no, it's okay. No. I didn't even say that to anybody, and it's fine. Acorn TV is how I found it. And,
okay.
And that's where it is like commercial free. And there are other places, but people, I've told as many people as I can, because my family, my father, I was in a restaurant so I live in a small town in South Jersey, in New Jersey. And I was in a restaurant, and I have a big voice, and I'm talking to my father, and we're laughing about it. And this man gets up, and this happens to us a lot of times because we know, people know us because we've lived in the town all the time. I thought the man was coming for my dad. He thought the man was coming for me. And we're just sitting there, and he stands there, and he says, my wife has very good ears, which was very polite to say that I have a big mouth, right? He goes, we heard Republic of Doyle. We both went, you watch it, we watch it. Now the couple next to me is like, let me Google that, Republic of Doyle. And then the owner comes in, and we're like, you have to see the Republic of Doyle. Who likes it? People are raising their hand who saw it, who didn't. So I know. So what was my point of telling you that whole story? How did that even get on? I don't know.
Well, I just wondered how long it's been a thing in the States. Like,
yes, don't know. Not sure.
I've been hearing about it for a while and totally ignored it until finally, Roxanne took my arm and twisted it and said, if you don't watch this, start watching it, I'm going to disown you. So the next thing you know, Roxanne texts me, I forget what day it was, and I was like, please don't bother me now. I'm doing a marathon of Republic of Doyle.
Yes,
I watched the first episode, and I was absolutely hooked.
Yeah, it's magic. I was thinking about, there's one line in all 6 seasons that has stayed with me, and it's the one that I actually have the clip, and it's called Love on the Line. I don't know, the episode's like 202, I don't know what it's called, but anyway, when Jake asks Leslie, do you think about this other couple? Do you think they'll stay together? And she goes, I don't know. It's a job to say. Yes. And that's such a Newfoundland thing. It's a job to say. And she's like, first of all, Kristen Pellerin is like this little flower. Like she's just so delightful, like, and magical. Like you can't even quite describe her. And she's so powerful on screen. Like in real life, she's just so soft and quiet. But at any rate, but she said it's a job to say. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it, but that's a really, there's always that tension, right? Between the two of them.
Even throughout there was so much in 6 seasons. Give a push and pull and break up and make up.
I have it all written down.
Ever, at least I didn't. I never ever lost faith that they were the end game.
Oh, I know.
I was like, why is this happening? And why is this interloper, other character coming in, spoiling things? But you always knew that this was going to be the end game. And if Alan had all this in his head at 19, good Lord, somebody needs to sit him down and get him to
he has some great writers too.
He's got up there.
He'd be the first one that would shout out to the writers' room because they were fantastic. But I will say Michelle Nolden, you know her from oh my God, she's on this great show. Oh my God, I can't even think about it. Michelle Nolden. She's been in Hallmark movies for sure, and she's on this show. It's not When Calls the Heart. It's, oh my God. And it's been on for it's the longest running series in Canada. Heartland. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But she played Allison. And so, I love Michelle Nolden. I love her, but I did not want her in Jake's business. I was like, girl, you can go home.
I was so happy. I know, I was so happy about that storyline.
And the mayor, Rick Roberts as the mayor. I mean, that's a Slovene.
I've seen, but I've enjoyed his acting for
years. He is such a gifted actor.
Yeah, and those of you, I'm not going to spoil anything anymore, more spoilers. But once you get to the end of the series, go back and start rewatching again because it is so much fun to watch from the beginning, knowing how things are going to end up. It's just a hoot.
And I love, and I'm not going to say it, but I'm the kind of person when I get a book to read, because I love reading books, I have to read the first sentence and I have to read the last sentence. Yeah, and I like to imagine where that goes. The last lines of this show are perfect. Mm-hmm. And it starts, and I love how it started with the father and the son, Jake and Malachi, and then it ends with them as well. It is so good. And you could tell that the writers are like real writers. Like they're not just going to be right. And I'm not downing something, but they have different genres. They're not just writing for a show. They're writing like a novel. They're writing whatever. I mean, they're amazing. Harry is amazing. I have his book. I cried when I finished the book. Did you read the book by any chance?
I'm hoping to interview him on my show. So
I want him to come on too. I want to talk to him about it.
I feel like you should have the whole cast on. I'm wondering if the two of you shouldn't do like a rewatch podcast or something.
We are. That's what we're doing.
That's
it's not just this, or
no.
You're gonna come back every time and do an episode.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Wow. Well, I mean, you're going to have so much fun.
I know, if we already are.
Okay, good. Because I feel like, I mean, everybody's super busy, but I can't think of a person that was a part of this creation that wouldn't want to celebrate it, that wouldn't want the opportunity and just welcome the fact that here's a whole fresh set of eyes that are discovering this magical thing. Like, oh my gosh, it's so wonderful.
I read something on Facebook within the last few days, and it's the old question of what's more important, the destination or the journey? And I've always, the journey or the destination, and I've always been a destination. I go to the end of books to see how they end before I invest my time.
Wow.
I go to the end of the miniseries to see what's going to turn out.
Oh, wow.
And then someone answered the question and said, it's neither. It's the companionship along the way. And that's kind of how I think about Republic of Doyle. It was a fantastic journey, but what made it so special was all the characters that you met along the way, and not just the main characters,
No, that's right.
Brilliant,
Yes.
cameos that they got, or the guest stars, or the recurring characters. It truly was lightning in a bottle, where everything came together just perfectly. And they have to do it again, and just do it for a 2-hour or 90-minute movie. Please.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
Well, I'm going to send the link to, I'm sure you will too, Roxanne, to Perry and to Alan.
No, I have not. I tagged them on things, and it's funny because I saw Perry hasn't been on social media for a while, and he just got on. And when he did, he saw some of my things and yours. Alan got on, and he didn't pay attention to anything, and he got off. So
he's so busy.
I know.
He just wrapped a movie, and I mean, he's been doing so many shows, and he's doing promotion for a lot of stuff.
Yes.
I know Perry was on a big book tour, and I think he's just sort of back in the homeland. But I mean, come on. And then
I'm sorry. When I'm not sure when you're going to be talking to Perry, but when you do, let him know. So I'm a teacher, and I teach ELA, language arts. And I'm also piloting like a program for our district. And I do a book club that runs even in the summer with my kiddos. But anyway, we're going to read his book because I think it's appropriate, and the kids are going to love it. And my students are like brilliant. They're going to dive into that. They're going to want to know more about the area. We're going to talk. They're going to want to know what a cod tongue is. They're going to want to know what that tastes like, which I want to know. What does it taste like? Have you ever had cod tongue?
Oh yeah. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's funny because Alan Hocko and Alan Doyle and Perry Chafe were friends growing up, and Alan Doyle I don't know if he has a land speed record for cutting out cod tongues, but wow. That's what they would do. Yep. I don't particularly care for them. Like fish and chips I could pass on to. Mom used to make a fish and brews. I'm more of a shellfish kind of gal.
Yeah.
So I like lobster and stuff like that. But
so let him know where I already bought. I read it digitally, but I make my kids are I'll give them a choice, but I want them to actually have the physical book in their hands.
Wow.
Because then they get it as a gift, and we like to highlight and mark it all up. So mine arrived today, and I'm going to show it to them. And we're not going to start until we go back to school in September, but I'm going to get a set, probably about 6 for my little group. And I will just post it all over social media, but I love it. It's really good book. And it's going to be something different that I think my students are going to just love. And it's funny because they'll think it's back in the day.
Right.
When it's really not back in the day to me.
Whippersnappers. I was going to say, I used to joke around that Perry Chafe was the elusive Perry Chafe, because if there was ever a camera shy fella, I did not get him until, it took a long time. And for him to be on camera or do anything. I think he's certainly this book tour has put him right front and center.
Good.
But normally he's not one of those kind of guys that would gravitate towards the spotlight. He's very comfortable in the back creating and so good luck getting him. But I'm certain he'd be so flattered. That book has been such a hit, it's such a bestseller, and it's so lovely to see. And Perry's also a prolific songwriter. I don't know if you knew that, but he and his fiance Maureen Ennis, who's one of the 3 sisters in the Ennis sisters, have written so many songs and Christmas songs too. Don't get me started on Christmas Hallmark movies. If you ever do a podcast on those, call me.
I do them all the time.
Again, I mean, if you ever do another one, call me. I know you're everything Hallmark. Of course you've done them.
Someone is asking for the name of Perry's book.
Closer by Sea.
Closer by Sea.
Okay. Closer by Sea, yeah.
Stephanie, I just had on it's Christmas in July, which my family actually celebrates, and it's Christmas in July on Hallmark, and they premiered 2 movies this year, and their second one is premiering this weekend, and I just had Vanessa Lenges on, and we talk about it. Yeah, I have them on. You have to go.
No, I know you have them on. I just meant because that's what you are. You're everything Hallmark. So of course you do. I just meant to say the next time you do it, call me.
Okay.
I'm always watching them though. We have Remembrance Day here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And so like November 12th, my house explodes into Christmas, and I've written so many Christmas Hallmark movies. Like, I just want to go to camera soon. So who knows?
Wait a minute, and you should.
And I was going to say, Stephanie, here's a question, and this is for everyone. As you're watching, keep an eye out for whether or not there are people or establishments named after executives or on the behind the scenes. Like there was a facility, and I'm blanking now, but it was named Chafe something. And I think I've seen the other. There's Alan, there's Perry, and then there's a third, Mark, and I can't pronounce his last name, but I saw that one on a building. And they sometimes name characters. If you look in the credits, they're naming characters after crew members. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, I think too, Kathy, a lot of it is because Chafe is a really popular Newfoundland name. So Chafe's is actually a store before Perry ever. Yeah. So I think that may be more the case, but I would imagine there's a lot of characters who've been named, because in celebration of somebody else.
Yeah.
There's a lot of secrets, which again, I mean, I'm getting no commission from these sales. But if you are going to do the podcast, oh my God, what a resource!
Right.
But
are they going to do more?
Not a detail. Pardon me.
Are they going to do follow-up seasons?
No, that was the only.
No,
two.
Carrie only did the first two, but and I'm not sure why she didn't do another. They just got so busy, and I mean, the show really, it was it was great right out of the gate, but it kept getting bigger and bigger, and it was such a. By the time the sixth season, it was, and I sort of buried that part of it, but what it did for tourism in St. John's was, I mean, astronomical, and it was really wonderful. And CBC could see what an incredible investment they had in this show, and it got bigger without question. And I think everybody got busier, and then as they were ramping down, everybody behind the scenes was building up to their next project and what's going to happen next. And people were going off in various and sundry places, but extraordinary.
But colleges and high schools have reunions.
Good for them, and I don't care. They still need to make the movie. I need it.
No, I'm with you. They have to make a movie.
All right, we have sucked up so much of your time.
Thank you. I talk too much probably, but I love to celebrate it. So if you're ever stuck for a guest as you go through the 6 seasons, you let me know. Or if you have a question, just DM me. I mean, I was like, I would parachute in and find out stuff, but I could probably dig it up or connect to you, Roxanne. So just let me know.
Sure. Now, before you go, I just want to show you like our peeps that are here tuned in. Christina said, Stephanie has a great personality and you're so talented.
Thank you. I'll pay you later.
Gloria says, I love country music. I just looked Stephanie up on Spotify, so I'll be listening later. How exciting. Now,
sweet.
Christina Lohman, she's the one who came up with the name Doilies. I wanted to mention that.
I love it. It's so funny. I don't know why we didn't, we're just Republic of Doyle fans, and there were a lot of them. I mean, the other side, they do, and I guess they probably do this a lot at conventions and stuff like that. But Republic of Doyle would actually do their own fan events, and they would.
I saw
which
them.
was really great. They'd go and they'd meet the people where they were, knowing and appreciating that they're in Newfoundland and far away. They would do a cross country tour, which was great.
Which was nice. I saw some of it on like YouTube and social media from old archivy stuff I was able to find. Janice was saying about the hitchhiking that you were mentioning. She said you used to be able to hitchhike in the States, but I don't think that's the case anymore. At least
I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
Billy
Jersey,
Campbell
it's
is
illegal.
6'6". Like he could take anybody. But I'm just saying that was his theory. I'm not recommending hitchhiking. No.
And Chris wants to know, did Alan do his own stunts? He did talk a little bit about that.
So there were stunt people and there was a lot on the go. Alan did quite a bit of things. There, they had a great crew. They had a great technical crew. That car went through an inordinate amount. I think there's been a few people that have sort of been his stunt man per se. But yeah.
And Lillian says she's telling us that we have to go on a road trip. I lived there as a baby when my dad was in the Air Force based in Stephenville.
Stephenville, yeah. No, it's beautiful. I mean, that would be, and a lot of the places they did sort of make up, you know, like the police office and stuff like that. That was all in the airplane hangar. Yeah. But all of the exteriors were all of the wonderful places around St. John's, and they didn't go too far out of the city. That was the one thing about it. They shot pretty close to it, but they had so many wonderful backdrops, you know, all the way up to Signal Hill, and you know, everywhere around the city gave them beautiful backdrops without question.
Really. And the car too. My goodness. I mean, just there was just everything about it that I loved. The dialogue, the continuity, everything. I'm like, this is amazing. Arlene was saying that next to Jake, Rose is her favorite. So Linda Boyd, I love Linda Boyd. And it's so cute because Linda Boyd and Alan Hocko were just in a series together, which was we're going to get to see it on the CW here in the States in the fall, but it finished at Sullivan's Crossings. And I believe she plays the mom of the main character. And I think he's like the love interest when she was the doctor in the city. Did you watch the series?
I did. Yeah. Well, I mean, anything Alan's in, I'm a huge fan of. He's also in Moonshine, which is premiering this coming Sunday.
Where?
So we actually, he's not in, right. So Alan comes in season 2.
Yep.
And you're getting the premiere of season 1 on Sunday.
No, actually, we got the premiere last Friday. We're on episode 2 this Friday.
Perfect. Oh, that's right. You know what I'm thinking of that's happening this Sunday is our season 3 premiere. Yes. I'm all confused because I had Jim Gilbert, who plays the cop. He was on my radio show this past week.
Oh, so wait a minute. Okay. First of all, I use the word delicious because I can't use any other word to this whole series. I find everything about it delicious.
I thought you were just talking about Alan.
Wait. No, he's delicious. But wait, this is hilarious. I love how he looks and how he dresses, the jeans he wears. You know, it's cute. He's cute, right? And then I saw him all bikered up with the tats that they put on him. And here's me. Oh my God. He's older now than he was then, but he looks even better. And I'm like, how could I ever even have an interview with that man? I would be like, oh my God, like crazy.
He is really dreamy in real life. He's very sweet. Yeah. Without question.
Funny things that you would say, like when I'm in the back seat with Alan Hocko, and you had to whisper.
That was my very first interview on camera with him, and we only were there because it was pouring rain, and we couldn't go in because we were in like a townhouse kind of complex, or they were shooting, and they had one townhouse, and it was all like, you know, behind the scenes, like the crew is just, you know, they've got one little patch where the actors are standing and the rest of it. So there was no way we could go in there, and we couldn't stand outside. And I only had him for X amount of minutes. He actually went away and came back, and they were shooting scenes, and it was just, we were whispering. I mean, forget about it.
It was great.
Forget about it. It was great. Yeah. I'm really lucky. I'm very, very, very lucky.
Now, listen, this is hilarious. Stephanie needs to be on every time you do a recap.
Is that my brother or my daughter?
No. This is our friend Christine. She's saying that now every time, which you are more than welcome to come on anytime you want. Yeah.
Well, like I said, if you're stuck or if you need me to hook you up, everybody's really gone into all kinds of different places. I was going to say, one thing you were mentioning, Linda Boyd, she is a doll and has worked so much. She's actually one of the few people on the show that isn't from Newfoundland.
Right.
She's from BC. And of course, Sean McGinley's Irish.
Right.
He's from Ireland. But that Newfoundland accent lends itself very well. There's a lot of Irish folk in Newfoundland.
Those of us who are natives can't tell the difference, I don't think.
Well, there you have it. I mean, there's a certain dialects if you're on the island, I mean, it's just like New York, probably, right? Like every borough has their own. Yeah. But anyway, well, this has been lots of fun. So
thank you so much.
And I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties.
No, doesn't matter. It's all good. It's
but
all good.
I appreciate you ladies talking, and you're so sweet. I'll look forward to tuning in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now,
Have a good
do I
night.
hang up or is it over?
I will. You know what I'll do? I will kick you out myself. Okay.
I won't take it personally.
No, I'll make it.
Bye, ladies. Thank you.
Bye.
Make the movie. Make the movie.
Make the movie. Bye, Stephanie.
Bye.
All right. So, Kathy, we have to make a decision here. And I don't think we should be recapping because we have an hour and we already did so much wonderful stuff. And then we'll go into recapping at another date.
We've actually been on, a little over an hour, I think.
And I saw that there were some questions, but people were helping each other out and answering those questions. Like, yes, the Duke is a real place. Yes. And I don't know if there were any other questions that weren't answered. If anybody has a question that you wanted to ask, they're all saying thank you to Stephanie. So we'll come back. We'll talk about our favorites and we'll recap. We're not going to recap every episode, right? We're going to just recap them in groups. And so that will,
if you have any specific episodes you really want us to talk about, or otherwise, let us know.
Yes. Does anyone in here have something you want an episode? Let us know or send us a message even after this posts. So I
just want to reiterate just before we go.
Yes.
Because I tried to write them down and I want to go grab them. Republic of Doyle. That's the name of the large book that does the episode recaps.
Yes.
And then Closer by Sea, which is Perry Chafe's book that you are wild about.
Yes, I love that book. It's a book that was written for like about middle grade readers, like about 12, 13, 14. It is about 12-year-old boys and the one girl that they befriend. Someone goes missing. No. It tells you the first page. Someone is missing when it first opens, and it's their just adventure and coming of age. And I told you it reminds me a lot of the movie Stand By Me, but it's not in the 50s or 60s. It's in the 90s. Yes. And you do love Des. So do I. You can find him on a lot of stuff. He has a big, giant career. He's doing really well. They all are. My goodness.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love that Perry responded to her. That was great. He sent her a message. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, speaking of Des, if you go back and look at the first episode, pay attention to Des and his character and his dialogue and his demeanor, because he kind of changed a little bit. They kind of, I don't know, he kind of changed after that. So I don't know if anyone has seen that or if you agree with me.
I noticed.
Interesting, yeah.
I think in my
self-confident.
Yes, and I think it's because they loved him. It was all a show, and they just when they take him in and I love when Jake's wife is trying to say, come with me or do that. And he's like, well, I got to go over there. We're kind of having we just hired Des and we're going to have an office meeting.
I think after that first episode, somebody paid attention or noticed that Mark has this charisma that really shines when his character is being more vulnerable.
Yes.
And more needy, because that's when he really, like, the whole family fell in love with him.
Yes. Yes, especially Rose. She hired him. Oh God,
Kathleen. Won't say who Kathleen is, but there's a character, Kathleen. When she shows up, she was just totally she's an older character, so it wasn't romantic, but she just adored Des.
Yep, him too. I know, it's good. Everything is good. All right, thank you so much. Christine says, love the show tonight, ladies. Des is funny. Yes, Kathy, I noticed. Enjoyed tonight. Thank you. And spread the word. Like, this group and troop of people, they're out there always posting stuff on social media. Post some stuff. I would love it for them to more people to see it and it spreads, because then we'll get Perry's, catch his eye and whoever else. Let me speak to one thing real quick. About the strike. So at 12 o'clock, they'll go on strike.
Wait, who are you referring to now?
I'm talking about the actors.
American?
Yes. So a lot of people are getting confused because they don't understand. It's if you belong. Well, they're like, oh, well, they're Canadian. You could belong to the to the American labor union for the actors. Just because you're Canadian doesn't mean you can't. So there was someone, I think Star Watch Byline did a great job of a representative who came on, and she had behind her a list of, like, it looked like a screenshot of paper, and it explained everything that what the strike means. So it means that they will not be doing any kind of social media, even if the show is something current. They won't be promoting, no social media, no interviews, no tours, no anything. They are just shut down, nothing. So I can't speak for, like, everyone's like, well, what about When Calls the Heart? They're supposed to be filming 11. I don't know who belongs to what, but if there is any one of them that belongs to that particular labor union, then they will not be working. They'll go home. And also to keep in mind that I would love it just in general, whether you're part of a union or not. But if you would listen to what Fran Drescher said, she was amazing. I saved it because I wanted to show my union executive committee, because what she said was really important. And what she was trying to say was, it's the truth, because I just finished negotiating a contract not too long ago. And it's about the greed. Like, the people that you're trying to negotiate with have billions of dollars, and they're like, we're losing money, we're bleeding money. You have billions of dollars still. When, like, you're bleeding money, you're still way above the poverty line. You know what I mean? So anyway, she talks all about why they're striking.
And Fran Drescher is the actress who was the nanny, but she's also president of the, is it Screen Actors Guild? What is she president?
Yes.
Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah. Yes, Christina, she was very informative, Stephanie. All right, everyone, you have a good night. See y'all later.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye. All righty.